Hey guys, I'm Mary and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a review of the Book of Gothel by Mary McMyne. This comes out on July 26th. So, as you might have picked up from the title, if you recognize the word Gothel, this is a villain origin story of Mother Gothel from the Rapunzel fairy tale. And so what this is about is we follow Halewise, who is our Mother Gothel character, and we follow her from her childhood where she is in this village. She's kind of a peasant girl in this village where she is plagued with these fainting spells, and she has these black eyes as well, so she's not particularly well liked in the village. She kind of lives off out of the village with her parents, and her mother's a midwife and she's kind of apprenticing to her mom somewhat. And then as bad things kind of happen in the village, the villagers tend to blame her and her mysterious fainting spells because they think she's kind of like cursed, and so she's kind of an outcast. And then when her mother dies, she ends up leaving the village to go off and find this witch woman in the woods at the Tower of Gothel that her mother had talked about before. And so once she gets there, she wants to apprentice to kind of learn kind of the old ways and the old religion, and she meets this other girl there who may or may not know some about that, and they kind of get to know each other there, and then the story goes on from there. I guess I won't go into more detail to give away the whole plot, but that's kind of where we start off and start going. And so I think I'll start with the things I liked about this book. So the thing I really like the setting of this book. It takes place in kind of the Middle Ages Germany, or whatever Germany would have been called then. I don't know. Which I really liked, kind of how it's in our world. The prologue and epilogue of this book is kind of the framing device of this current day folktale professor who gets this tip about this old kind of bound manuscript that this woman has found in her attic or basement, and it's the Book of Gothel. Like, that's what that book is. It's Gothel's story. Halewise has written her story and kind of hidden it. And so I really like how that kind of ties to the real world as kind of like a kind of piece of like the history there, as opposed to like if it had been set on like a fantasy world. I find that when I have kind of folktale-y vibes, I like it when it's rooted in the history of our real world. I had the same thing when I read Daughter of the Forest by Julian Millay, how it's rooted in kind of Middle Ages Ireland. So I enjoy that. I also really liked the theme of old versus new religion. That's also something I find that I generally enjoy in fantasy books, especially it tends to be in fantasy books like retellings or kind of more inspired by, you know, old traditions, old myths and folktales kind of books are the ones that tend to have this theme in it, and I generally enjoy that theme, so I enjoyed its inclusion in this one, the old versus new religion kind of narrative going on. So I like both of those. I also liked it kind of towards the second half we meet this character, Hildebard, who I thought was a pretty interesting character. She's kind of this badass woman abbess, and I learned after reading the book that she's actually a real historical figure, Saint Hildegard, like she was real, and I kind of liked how, again, we brought in a real person to kind of ground it in our world a little bit, and I just also thought her character was interesting, being this kind of head abbess in this world that's definitely very patriarchal. Beyond that, I can't say like much else about the book. Yeah, so I didn't like this book very much. We started with the things I liked because it was a shorter list. So what did I not like about this book? First off, I didn't like Halewise as a character. She's the only point of view we get, and I just didn't enjoy reading her point of view really at all. So I just found her to be frustratingly naive, and it makes sense why she is. Like, she grows up in this sheltered life. So, like, I get it. But just because it's real, like, I get it and it makes sense doesn't mean I enjoyed reading it. Because sometimes she would go out when she left her village, and she would be suspect of things people were telling her, which made sense, sure. Like, if you grew up sheltered, you really don't know how the world works in a lot of ways, and so you're like not sure what someone's saying is true, especially if it's kind of going against what you thought you knew. So like I get that, but also the things she did like buy into were like way more sus to me than the things she was like suspect about. Like I don't know, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but like sometimes she would buy into things I was like, girl, you're believing that, but you're questioning this much more reliable sourced item. So that was kind of frustrating. And then in addition, the times that she was like wanting to learn more and like actually learn how things worked, I was like, yes, let's get it, let's go, let's learn things. And then this was less the character's fault and more the author's choice. Several times she would ask a character like, oh, can you tell me about this talisman I have, what does it mean? Or tell me more about the old ways. And the character would be like, no, not right now. I can't talk about it. I'm like, I was like, author, like you have to give me something to work with. Like, she's trying to find out information and you're just like refusing to give us as the reader information. Like, I need something here to read about. And so also our main character too, there was a lot of telling of things she was doing, and then as well it felt, I don't know, like she would stumble upon a lot of these like kind of higher powered women in like higher status positions than her, which I love that they had all these characters, but to me it was like they all just like helped her with like no question. It was like she would find these people and she'd be like, oh yeah, we believe your story and we'll help you. Maybe sometimes they might ask for something in return, but it was like the way everyone she just kind of stumbled into getting all this help from everyone. I was just like, how is this happening? It's like, and instead of her like working to earn what was happening in the plot, she was just stumbling into it. I didn't really love that either. And sometimes she would do or say things and like be a little shocked Pikachu at like the consequences about it. And I was like, girl. Or be surprised when other people were reacting to things she did. I was like, I don't know. That was kind of annoying too. So beyond the character, plot-wise, boring. This book was just, that was it. Like there was no character to be interested and no plot to be interested in either. Like the beginning of the book was a lot of her childhood and I was like rolling with it. Like there wasn't like really a driving force other than just like, here's what happened in her childhood. I was like, that's fine. You know, we're setting up a character. We'll go with it. But it went on for so long. Like we just kind of stuck around for so long hearing about this remedy that didn't stop, like cure her fainting spells, and this other remedy, and like, oh, more things are happening that are making the villagers hate her and stuff. And so like it just went on for a while and I was like, okay, fine, like I'll like trust the author here at first, and we're getting some backstory. And then she left the village to go find the tower and I was like, all right, plot's gonna start now, let's go. And it just didn't. Like, it just did not feel like there was anything driving this plot forward for most of the book. And then, because at the tower, again, like, she'd be asking about the old ways, and, like, she'd be like, we wouldn't be getting answers, so we couldn't be like, oh, we're learning about these things, that's what's happening now. She was just kind of futzing around. And then there was, like, some more of a driving plot later, but by that point, I was kind of over it. So we got to this other driving plot, and it involved some side characters, and part of it was I had no attachment to the characters. I was like, why do I care that this happened to one of them? Like, why should I care about that? And why should I care that Halewise is trying to right this wrong? Like, why do I care that she cares? Like, I don't. I'm not attached to her. Like, I'm not attached to these side characters. And, like, even with the plot, I was just sitting here, I was like, what's the point of this plot, like, being in the book either? Because it didn't feel like it was furthering the, like, discovering the old magic, which is really what I thought this book was going to be about, I guess. So maybe I just had the wrong expectations going into it about what it was going to be about. But I really thought it was going to be a lot of, like, and that did happen some by the end. But this other plot, it just was like, why do I care about this? I think that was the whole problem, was circling back to kind of Halewise as a character, is the things she was focused on in her brain were just the things I didn't care about and wanted to move past to get to other things, like potential other parts of the story. And so the plot and the character just like weren't into the things I cared about. So the book failed to make me care about the right things to be interested in the plot, I guess. There was also a romance in it that I was not into. It started in the kind of childhood portion of the story as kind of like a, you know, childhood friends crushing, like, thought they'd be together forever kind of deal. And I liked it there fine, because I didn't really buy it as anything deeper than the, like, childhood crushes, because it was like the guy's like the only villager that would talk to Halewise, so like kind of convenience there. And so I was cool that there, like, I didn't have a problem with it there as kind of like the childhood thing. And then they parted ways or whatever, and then they brought it back. And that's where I wasn't into it, because when they brought it back, it was like, that's when it became a problem that I did not buy this romance deeper than the childhood romance, because you needed to like, be into it as, like, the adults. And I just wasn't. I wasn't into it. I was like, I'm just not into it. Like, I don't know. I just, like, it wasn't like anything aggressively bad happened between them. I just didn't buy it. And so then the things they were doing that was motivated by the romance, I didn't buy. And then also as adults, there was a whole, he was married to someone else and then continued to be married to her and didn't stop being married to her. And that was like not it for me either. Like I wasn't here for that. So yeah, not into that either. Unfortunately, this one did not work for me. I have seen a lot of other reviews. Like if you look at the reviews now before it comes out from like other ARC readers, it's been getting really good reviews. Like it has a pretty high rating. So definitely the unpopular opinion here. I'm definitely curious to see kind of where that rating goes once it's released and we have non-ARC reviewers reading it. See if it stays high, if I continue to be the unpopular opinion or what. So if you've read this book, tell me what you thought in the comments. If you liked it, tell me why you liked it. I'm definitely interested to hear other people's perspectives on it. And yeah, unfortunately, we'll have to move past this one. Hope the next one is better. So I will see you in my next video.